Hey, for less than $200, how would you like to send pieces of aluminum flying into your abdomen? Yeah, for about that much on Amazon, you can pick up your own CNC machine that advertises that it can cut metal. And if you've seen one of these things in use before, you know that they can go wrong quickly. CNC machines are designed to use a rapidly spinning drill to violently scrape away material in layers until you end up with an object. But one wrong move, and instead of drilling out your object, the machine can start drilling into itself, destroying your object, or worse, just blowing up altogether. Kinda scary, right? Should something this dangerous be accessible to total beginners for that cheap? Would you want to use this? Could a child use this? If you said you'd throw caution to the wind and give this thing a try despite how dangerous it is, then good, because I did too. I made it my task to see if we could take this dangerous death trap of a machine, keep it cheap, and make it safe for beginners and maybe even children. This task is what I decided to tackle for my senior college capstone project at the University of Colorado with 3 amazing teammates. But the problem is, we only had 4 months to do it. Could we make this happen? I did this project with my friends Matt, Gia, and Sophia, who were all amazing and talented creative technology and design majors like myself. They were all also computer science minors, which I wasn't, and I think that they only did that to make me feel bad for only having one major. Our first step in this project was to get our own brand new one of these Amazon CNC or computer numeric control machines so that we could put it together from scratch to understand how it truly works. The problem is that as we were unboxing it, we looked at the instructions, and after years of building IKEA furniture and really well documented 3D printers, these instructions left a lot to be desired. Not only that, but as we were unboxing this thing and starting to take out its parts, we were noticing that some of its structural components were still covered in aluminum shavings from the factory from when they'd been cut, and machining oil. It's like this thing had been packaged right off the assembly line. Not very good. To make things worse, the structural components of the machine were so sharp on their ends that when we put it together and we put it on a table, it would dent the table. Sorry, Zach. But after a little while of taking pictures of literally every single step so that we could have our own documentation, our little death trap was ready to go. And it was time to start making it safer because in its current state, it was not. We had a couple of ideas on how to approach these safety issues, but weren't really sure how to solve them just yet. And they kind of boiled down to this. We wanted to make the machine safer towards the user, we wanted to make the machine safer towards itself, and we wanted to make the whole process of using this thing easier to understand. And remember, all while keeping this thing affordable. One area we started in was making an enclosure for this machine. Sophia, who is our industrial designer of the group, worked with me, who also loves industrial design, to design an enclosure in CAD that we could use to help keep stuff from flying out of this machine while it's going, and also to help dampen the noise a little bit, because currently it was really loud. One of the main goals we had for this enclosure was to make it buildable out of pretty much only 3D prints and hardware store parts. Our goal was that the user, if they had the design files, could go to a makerspace and to their hardware store and build one of these things without having to source expensive or hard to find parts. Basically just 3D prints, screws, acrylic, plywood, you name it. Simple stuff. Our first couple prototypes looked like this. Not incredibly elegant, but hey, that's what the iterative design process is for. While we were busy building the enclosure for this machine, Matt was investigating how you control the machine. And after a little bit of looking, he determined that it was controlled by an Arduino, which is a small electronics controller that we all had experience working with. All you needed to control the machine was a laptop plugged into the Arduino running a controller software, and you're good to go. There were really 2 main ways to control the machine with a computer. The first way was to type in computer commands in a language called G-code and a flavor called GRBL. I like to call it gerbil. If you've heard the word G-code before, that's because you've probably heard it in the context of 3D printing. G-code is the kind of commands that 3D printers understand to know how to move around. Only there's a pretty big problem. We don't speak G-code, and typing in these commands to just make it move a little bit was a little cumbersome. The other option was to use keyboard shortcuts to tell the machine where to go. So you hit a button and it starts to move that direction. You hit another button and it starts to go down. Now, these were better than trying to speak G-code, but if you hit the wrong button and you didn't realize it, you could start telling the machine to mill into itself. So A little clumsy, not very intuitive, probably not what we wanted to rely on too heavily. And the other option was to create commands ahead of time to tell the machine what to do. But at the time, these were really complicated and we had no idea where to start. In many ways at this point, we were our own target audience for this project, which was bad and good. Bad because we didn't know what we were doing, but good because we knew the questions that we were asking when we were learning how to use it. We could use that later. And speaking of not knowing what we were doing, at this time Gia started writing our innovation guide, which we would package with this machine to hopefully tell the user some of the basic things they have to do to make this machine work safely. And this wasn't just going to be your run-of-the-mill user manual. We were going to make this thing colorful, easy to understand, aesthetically pleasing, answering all the questions we were wondering ourselves while we were getting this set up. And this was a big undertaking. A lot was starting to pile up. We were making a guide for a machine we didn't know how to use, making an enclosure for safety concerns we hadn't yet encountered, and trying to learn about a machine that we had just put together. And we only had 3 months left to make this happen. 3 months to basically become experts of this machine. Oh boy. After messing around with our CNC controller software for a while, Matt was able to figure out a way to make the keyboard commands on the computer get translated into Arduino commands. And those Arduino commands we could then associate with buttons and joysticks and levers. And you know what that means. We had the framework we needed to make one of the big things that we wanted to make happen for this project happen, which was the all-new, exclusive CNC gaming controller. Yeah, we figured the best way to make this thing easier to control was to play on what our users probably already had experience with. Arcade machines, claw machines, games in general. We wanted to make this experience as close to controlling those kinds of things as possible. Now, it's important to know that CNC machines that are used in industrial settings are not controlled like this. Normally, they're controlled with levers or big wheels to make these movements really precise. We don't care about that. Our user doesn't as well, we're willing to bet. And if they're not manually controlled, like I said earlier, they're probably automatically controlled, using a series of predetermined paths, predetermined cut patterns, that kind of thing. And we made our machine able to not only be manually controlled, but also accommodate those who were gonna input automatic commands. So it was good for both. Meanwhile, Gia and Sophia have been working on the branding for this machine. We wanted to make it approachable, friendly, aesthetically pleasing, things that would be inviting to a beginner user. So we named it Block, because after making the enclosure, it was just kind of a little block that sits on the top of your desk. And when you machine something, you start with a little block of material. We also came up with this guy, who is Block Buddy, our little mascot. We thought that he would be a cute addition to have just kind of sitting off to the side of the machine while using the project. Again, the idea here is approachability. And with this increased comfortability came more prototypes, more enclosures, more controllers, more branding ideas. We were kind of in our flow state, you know, if you can consider a flow state being several class sessions broken up into a couple of weeks. My focus at this point was entirely on drafting up our controller and our enclosure in CAD. And believe me, these things challenged every single bit of my CAD experience. It was pretty tough. Progress was good, but progress aside, it's important to remember that this was also a class. We had grades, we had weekly check-ins, we had progress reports, we had little essays we had to write, and presentations we had to make about how our progress was going. It's because of this documentation efforts for this class that I'm able to make this video a year later. But as we continue to make progress, the amount of documentation and the amount of presentations started going up. It became a lot more about selling and talking about our product than actually making it. Because after all, the premise of this capstone project for the entire class was that we are not just making a fun project, we're behaving like we were designing this project to be sold in the real world. These documentation exercises and presentations and such started to take up a lot of our time that was valuable to kind of do some troubleshooting on some of the things that we were developing for our machine. And with just about a month to turn in our final deliverable for this project, these concerns were starting to get pretty stressful. For example, the guide had to be completely revised a couple of times because we actually started learning about what we were talking about. We had to edit things we were wrong about, things we didn't know. We had a lot of edits to make. Our enclosure, despite its flawless design, actually ended up being pretty hard to put together. Who knew that your CAD model and real life don't always line up? The controller's electronics at this point were really complicated, and stuff was starting to short out or disconnect, and faulty control of the machine is kind of one of the big things we were trying to avoid. And by the time we had started to diagnose these issues and actually know what we had to do, We were only down to a few weeks. How did we solve this? We were down to the wire. By locking the freak in. We became masters of our craft. CAD, CNC, electronics, graphic design, you name it. Stress was high, nights were endless. The team started to fight about simple things. Could we make it in time? After 4 months of intense design, squeezing out every single drop of our design skills, and countless iterations, we had a somewhat working machine? It was time for Design Expo, so it was time for us to show off this machine to pretty much anyone that wanted to come try it. Our controller worked as long as you were gentle, and I think it turned out great. Doesn't it look cool? Matt was an absolute legend with the electronics for this thing. The enclosure also turned out really good. Sophia put in a lot of hours to make this thing perfect. We may have gone a little hard with the spray paint, but it looked nice, I think. It had little acrylic windows so that you could see inside. It had little rubber feet so that it would reduce vibrations. It had a nice open and close mechanism so it was easy to take the machine out and clean it. It was a pretty good system. And you can't forget about the little vacuum system so that it vacuums up dust while you're cutting. How cool is that? Oh, and our instruction guide was printed out in all of its glory, and it was amazing. I still have one. I still reference it whenever I do CNC machining. It was full of all the knowledge and all the experience we had collected over the last couple months that we thought a beginner would need to use this machine safely and effectively, and we were really proud of how this turned out. Gia went crazy here. Our CNC ecosystem was complete. It was ready for manual control, automatic control. It was prepped to be easy to use, safe to use, easy to clean. It was perfect. The little Amazon CNC machine itself, though, was, not good. I had tortured it for hours and hours and hours doing documentation in the week before Expo. And several times it came apart, sending the bit plunging into the bed, drilling little holes in itself. Here's proof. And near the end of the project, we had gotten around to adding limit switches to this device, which basically stop it from hitting itself once it gets close to its edge. But there were a lot of times before that we didn't have those and that it collided with itself. So those motors were not very happy by the end of this project. This machine had been abused, taken apart, put back together again. It had been through a lot, but it had just enough strength left to make it all the way through Expo with no issues. As far as the Expo demo itself, at this point we had really only gotten our friends, students, teachers to test this machine out. We hadn't gotten a really wide pool of sample data for this. But now we seriously had all sorts of people trying this thing out. We had adults who had never used this kind of thing before, decorated engineers who were familiar with the industry standard for these machines, and like I said at the beginning, literal children. Yeah, right here, you can see me teaching this kid how to use our machine, and only after a little bit of instruction, she was engraving away. She was the exact target audience we were looking for, so this was awesome. I don't know if you can tell, but I was sweating a lot here. There were months of design work that was riding on this going right. But wouldn't you know it, our machine was a success. If a kid could use this machine, then I was satisfied that any user we threw this at could also use this machine. Now, our Expo neighbors were probably pretty cross with us because our vacuum system was still pretty noisy. But despite the noise and despite the chaos, people were lining up to cut stuff on our machine. We passed, flying colors even. All of us got A's. We were super satisfied. And the machine still lives. It's been sitting in my printer room this whole time while I've been making videos over the last year. Here, let me go grab it. Yeah, here it is, in all its glory. It's kind of heavy. Whew, I'm out of breath. But I donated the controller to the creative technology program so that they could study it in 1,000 years to see what the heck I was thinking when I made this thing. The best part about this project is that it was and is accessible. We did the math, and if you bought all the parts that you needed to make this machine, it would only cost about as much as the machine itself. So, for the price of 2 machines, you can make this whole ecosystem yourself. And I'm not kidding, you can make one of these yourself. I uploaded all the design files and a lot of the documentation that we could get done before the project ended to printables so that you can download these files and build one of these yourself. And you don't have to build everything. You can build the controller, you can download the enclosure, you can download the guide, anything that will help you learn how to do CNC. The goal for me was and always is for this project to be free. So, That's the story of how myself and my brave and capable capstone partners made a safe CNC machine in under 4 months. Safe enough to be used by a kid. I'm gonna keep mentioning that. And I will be forever grateful to the incredible design skills and dedication that my teammates had working on this project. I seriously could not have gotten even close without them. Miss you guys. If you enjoyed this kind of video, be sure to let me know down below. I'm trying something new here and I'd love to hear your feedback. Seriously, I read every single comment. You can go on my videos and check. Go down to the description to check out my team members' design and professional pages. And as always, let me know what you guys think.